very much. Yes, it's on. It's on. Thank you. Thank you very much for that warm introduction. And Petra, happy birthday to you. William Buckley says there are two important days in a person's life: the day we are born and the day we discover why. Earlier on in the year, this nation celebrated Nigeria at 100. Today, we are celebrating Nigeria at 54. The absurdity of two such widely differing birthdays are enough to give a young man gray hairs and to make the gray-haired man go bald. But a convenient bridge between the incompatibility and the reality for the sake of the younger generation is that while the celebration of Nigeria at 100 was merely for the naming of a dependent, this 54th anniversary is that of an independent republic. And if the words of William Buckley are to continue as a reliable guide, our gathering here should be devoted to reflection and introspection, not to celebrate, but to contemplate. Not to mark this date, but to date the mark we want to make in the history of this nation. Unlike others who are gathered in different parts of the world to celebrate the ritual and of anniversaries, we are here for a cause that is bigger than ourselves. And it is to change Nigeria by being changed. We believe the time is now. And we want to assume our roles in this great experiment called Nigeria. We are here at the anniversary of the coming of age of a man who spent several years of his checkered history under servitude, yet has not demonstrated being man of himself in spite of his 54 years of declaration of independence. A man who labored hard to have the yoke of metal chains of colonization cast off his limbs, but does little to loosen the mental chains shackled tightly to his mind. The loud refrain of concerned Nigerians reverberate continuously, both in spatial and cyberspace, that Nigeria is in danger. And for Nigeria to be in danger, then Africa is also in danger. I'm here today, a Ghanaian by birth, connected by the larger African thread, to echo the eerie warning loudly trumpeted, not as an idle pastime, but as heeding the counsel of the elders. My country of birth was the first to become independent on the continent, and our founding father, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, declared on that day, our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa. Somewhere along the line, Ghana forgot, Nigeria forgot, and Africa has forgotten. And today, we are paying a heavy price for that amnesia. And so my citizenship as an African and the urgency of our times compel me to be here this day to be part of what you are attempting to do, to champion the cause of Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. Before I start, let me express gratitude to some board of trustee members whom I've come to know. Bamidele, whom you've gotten to see, and Professor Pius Adesami, for inviting me to be the keynote speaker. Both individuals have distinguished themselves at home and abroad as illustrious offsprings of this great nation. They affirm for me the interconnectedness of our Africanness and a reality that forbids anyone of the black race from doing anything injurious to his brother or sister, regardless of nationality. I first met Pius briefly through his writings. Then last October, we were part of 40 individuals in the diaspora who were invited to the United Nations office of the African Union Secretariat to give our input on the kind of future Africa wants to have in the next 50 years. Pius and I reconnected earlier this year in Ghana, where he spent his sabbatical as a Carnegie visiting scholar at the University of Ghana. And there, he made available to my country his expertise that were made in Nigeria, fine-tuned in Europe, North America, and Africa, and is constantly being refined via cyber and global space. Your own Professor Adesame is one of those mobile adverts for the essence of what is good in Nigeria and a worthy model for the teeming youths of this country. I am happy that my country of birth has benefited from his wealth of knowledge. Bamidele, who is another Board of Trustee member, came highly recommended. Since she is here, I wouldn't like to embarrass her by saying too much. But I have to let the world know that both at home and abroad, Bamidele, you have shown yourself ready to walk the talk, daring greatly, caring deeply, and sharing freely of your rich experiences. Yours is an insatiable hunger for Nigeria of your dreams. The Nigeria where justice would be normal, productivity would be acceptable, commitment and sacrifice will become personal mantras, and a collective embrace of excellence will characterize every act. It was these qualities of yours that attracted our Eagles Online organization to your cause, and we are here to show our support. Through your unfailing belief in Nigeria and the belief that Nigeria can become what it ought to be, you have brought us the Circle of Hands, a new initiative on national engagement, one targeted towards the harnessing of the untapped creativity and energy of the young people for national development. I also want to recognize you, the audience. You could have been somewhere else today, but you have chosen to be here to seek solutions through the collective reasoning of like-minded people. That through the encircling of hands, answers can be researched, refined, and retailed to every cranny of this nation. Thank you for coming through the questions and the interactions. I've already gained so much from you. And I want to thank our honorable panelists, Petra, Gimba, and Tope, as well as the gentleman, I forgot your name, for sharing with us some of the challenges this nation faces, and letting us know that Nigeria's problems go beyond ethnicity and religion. As a matter of fact, Nigeria's problem at the heart of it is an issue of mindset. Nigeria needs new thinkers, people who think outside the box. Thank you, everyone, for making it out today. The assignment you've given me is to speak on the theme, Nigeria at 54, a risky republic or a republic at risk. I'll speak to you very plainly without any long-winded and high-sounding rhetoric. I hope this message will go to the villages where people will read and understand that a foreigner came into your house to make a passionate appeal, namely, Africa is in trouble because Nigeria is in trouble. But if Nigeria gets it right, then Africa will be on a track to its rightful place. Second, I'm here to sound a note of caution to those of you who have responded to the summons of Circle of Hands and have committed yourselves to being the answer to the challenges facing Nigeria. My plea to you is that in your well-meaning effort to help a nation that is at risk, make sure you avoid the danger of offering a monkey solution. For a monkey solution is more risky than the problem it seeks to solve. What do I mean by a monkey solution? I derived that expression from a story I recently heard from the lips of one of Ghana's preeminent statesmen. He's an Oxford-trained social anthropologist, a prolific author, and a theologian. His name, Dr. Peter Kwasi Sarpong. Some of you may know him as the retired Archbishop of Kumasi, the second largest city of Ghana. About 3 months ago, I was in Ghana at the invitation of a group of professionals to give a 3-day lecture called Africa Must Think. The phrase Africa Must Think is the title of a book I wrote last year, Africa Must Think. By the way, we'll have a few copies available for those of you who are here. Dr. Sarpong was invited to be the introductory speaker to give a 10-minute speech before my address. And towards the end of his introductory comment, he told the story of some monkeys as a warning to those of us against acting from well-meaning ignorance. It is from this story that I have coined the expression monkey solution. Let me retell the story to you. In case you forget everything, don't forget this. One day, a group of monkeys, on seeing a raging flood, quickly ran to the top of the trees. And from the top of the trees, they looked down the turbulent waters, and to their consternation, they saw fishes that were swimming energetically and jumping about in the flood. The fishes seemed to be enjoying themselves. Yet, it had to be a false impression, the monkeys concluded. The fishes were in a dangerous situation. Theirs was our equivalent of a risky republic. The truth was, the fishes were fighting for their lives in the flood. It was a shame that they could not escape to the hills, since fishes did not have legs. On seeing the predicament of the fishes, the monkeys decided to help. They jumped down from the trees, waded in at the edge of the flood, and with much difficulty, they caught the fishes one by one and placed them on dry land. After some time, there was a great pile of fish lying on the ground, all of them motionless. The monkeys turned to one another and told themselves, "You see how tired the fishes are? They are just sleeping and resting. Had it not been for us, my friends, all these poor fishes without legs would have drowned." Then one monkey said, "Yes, at first they were trying to escape us because they couldn't understand our good intentions. But when they wake up, they will be very grateful because we have brought them salvation." Salvation? No, the monkeys have not brought the fishes salvation. Rather, their ignorance of the way of life of fishes have brought destruction upon the fishes. After narrating this story, the Archbishop advised, in our pursuit of development, we should desist from acting like the well-meaning but misguided monkeys. Our honest effort at development will turn out to be disastrous if we do not take into account the ways of life of our African people and the arrogant deception and ignorance of those who pretend to be the friends of Africans but are seeking their own satisfaction. Yes, Africa must think indeed. It is this same caution, brothers and sisters, that I pass on to you on this Independence Day of your great nation. We have gathered at the summons of circles of hands to do something about our nation that is at risk and thereby risky. My plea today is that in our well-meaning effort to do something about the Nigerian situation, we will not repeat the fatal mistake of the well-intentioned but misguided monkeys. We will avoid offering monkey solutions to the critical problems we seek to solve. What this means is that we must carefully understand the problem of Nigeria before we attempt a solution. Because ignorance in action is as dangerous as stupidity or inaction in the face of danger. Let me say it again. Ignorance in action is as dangerous as stupidity or inaction in the face of danger. And so on this day, I want to present this topic by answering 4 questions about Nigeria. Who is Nigeria? Where should Nigeria be? Where is Nigeria right now? And where is Nigeria going? The first 2 questions deal with what ought to be. When I say what ought to be, I am simply explaining to a caterpillar what its natural destiny is, namely to become a butterfly. So is Nigeria. 54 years ago was the declaration of independence of this nation. That act signaled the laying of eggs, not the hatching of a butterfly. It was an event that was the beginning of a process and not the end of it. And so let's retrace our back to that beginning. Who is Nigeria? You see, it is a common courtesy that when you meet someone, you introduce yourself. I am Mr. So-and-so, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. And so, it is not out of place that when we talk about Nigeria on this important day, we ask, what is Nigeria? But because this enigmatic entity called Nigeria is so vibrant and full of life, betraying an existence that is only capable, only living people are capable, we shall substitute for the what part of the question, who? And so the question is, who is Nigeria? In answering this question, I've enlisted the help of official documents on record, the personal understanding of Nigerians, as well as international perception of foreigners. As a Ghanaian, I naturally belong to the last group. But my deepening ties to the great nation pose a binary dilemma for me. Should I hold on to the viewpoint that has been filtered down to me as a foreigner, or should I take advantage of my rich associations that I've enjoyed with great men and women of this great nation? I chose the latter. Hence, the views I'll be expressing today in this lecture errs greatly along the lines of individuals I have come to know and appreciate. And it would attempt some of the factual demystification of confounding premises and conclusions about Nigeria. So let's begin with those 4 questions. Question number 1, who is Nigeria? To answer this question, I'll briefly look at the identity of Nigeria, the character of Nigeria, and the reputation of Nigeria. Let's start with the identity. Nigeria is not a theocracy. That is, it is not a nation ruled by religious laws, whether Christian or Muslim. Although we appreciate the values these religions bring to the nation. Nigeria is also not a monarchy, a nation ruled by chiefs and kings, although we respect those traditional structures of governance. Official documents of Nigeria describes it as the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Before I proceed any further, it is important to set the record straight on the type of system that actually defines the Nigerian polity. Perhaps this will yield much needed but unsought for benefits. It is all the more necessary when it is clear in the minds of a majority of Nigerians, as is evident via media statements, public opinions, correspondences, that Nigeria is simply a democracy. This is nothing short of blasphemous and a denigration bequeathed unabashedly to succeeding generations of Nigerians who do not think. Although this ignorant muddling of a republic and a democracy is one that is not confined to the Nigerian population alone, it is still important to set the record straight on this soil. Even America, with its long history of political engagement, makes the misguided mistake thinking America is a democracy, when it is clear it is a republic. But we are not here to criticize America. Our focus is on us. And when I use the word us, it includes my own country, Ghana, the baby brother who too often stumbles along gullibly behind his self-assured but sometimes wandering giant brother, Nigeria. The us also includes all other countries that gained their independence on the continent, and they introduce themselves in their constitutions as the Republic of Country XYZ of Africa. I want you to think again. To reject the significant differences between two distinct systems is to live in a house without foundation. And as in one of Christ's parables, one day the rains will come down, the floods will come down, the winds will blow, and the house without foundation will fall. When Nigeria is described otherwise than a republic by Nigerians, there is a greater cause for alarm, as it becomes doubly prejudicial. It heralds the widespread abuses by those who lead, and unchecked, it is the national identity crisis that will mutate eventually to a failed state. So what's the difference between a republic and a democracy? Very simple. A democracy is a direct government ruled by the majority. A republic, on the other hand, is a representative government ruled by law. Nigeria is the latter, though it operates with the mistaken identity of being the former. The status of a constitutional republic is what the nation and what this nation and many other African regions bequeathed to us at independence. It is what has become and subsumed under platitude. Without this representative governance and a careful understanding of the checks and balance, our nations are bound to go wild and in the wrong direction. Let's look at it this way. You see, if your nation is simply a democracy, then a majority, let's say 51%, who win an election can dictate what ought to be in the nation, forgetting about almost half don't agree. Because in a democracy, 51% can do whatever they want. But in a republic which is representative, ruled by law, it respects the individual rights of everyone, including the minority. One of the reasons we face crisis in many African countries, along political lines, ethnic lines, is we have the notion of democracy. So I win an election, like in my country, our nation is almost split 50-50. So 51% or 50.4% win an election and they bulldoze their way over the others. If of the 51 who won the election, 5 of them fall asleep, technically, the minority are now a majority. But because they are a majority in power, the 46% pass decrees or laws that govern the entire nation. It does not allow for meaningful dialogue. I hope you're understanding. Well, I think I've said enough to force you to go back and study the salient differences between a republic and a democracy. Nigeria's identity is a republic, not a theocracy, not a monarchy, not even or simply a democracy. Now that we know the identity of Nigeria, what about the character? There's a lot to make one proud as a Nigerian. You are smart, driven, vivacious, and generous. I have met many Nigerians who are among the most wonderful on the planet. Outside the country, where the playing field is more level and away from the ethnocultural and religious partitions, you represent the ideal for many in terms of your confidence, intelligence, and warmth. Your intellect is astounding, and your resilience is enviable. Though having economic contraption that seems to have so far confounded many of your highly placed intellectuals, you remain unhindered in your enrichment of the global knowledge base. When it comes to style and color, you are among the most tasteful in the world. You have healthy, mouth-watering cuisine that can delight even the most discriminatory taste buds. And many of your cultural festivals and displays have earned the right of recognition on the international stage purely on their merits. Whether you know it or not, you have modeled for many people how it is possible to survive in adverse situations. You demonstrate positivity and optimism. Naija no dey carry last is your national psyche, ethos, and motivation. It expresses Nigerian sense of exceptionalism. You blaze trails for others in paths that confound many. Your can-do spirit is in the same league as that of many other global players, and your individual successes inspire the hope of economic prosperity for the continent, once we all get past hindrances and limitations. You are not afraid to speak your mind, Nigeria. And out of your love for your nation, the power of your pens do not spare anyone in vigorous self-criticism. You criticize your leaders passionately and forcefully, and you also criticize your followers. Listen to this self-criticism penned by Oke Indibe, one of your foremost political commentators and essayists. He wrote, and I quote, "Nigeria is a veritable zoo, a social jungle where might determines right, a sheepdom run by a coterie of mediocrities. To hear somebody described as a chieftain in Nigeria is almost as a rule to encounter a thief. A chieftain. When Nigerian officials speak about somebody as a stakeholder, the person so identified is invariably a certified brainless buffoon who contributes nothing to society but who receives huge handouts, oil blocks, security votes, constituency allowance, and inflated contracts. These chieftains are stakeholders, not stake. Stick, S-T-E-A-K. These chieftains are stakeholders. They relish foreign trips abroad, the presidential jets, or in the first-class cabins of commercial airlines. They gloat as they luxuriate in the comforts provided by the ingenuity and enterprise of other people and bask in the fineries of societies that have struck prudent balance between production and consumption." But the self-criticism is not only directed against leaders. In fact, some of the most penetrating critiques are reserved for its people. Listen to this excerpt from a thought-provoking article I recently read from the pen of a female Nigerian patriot. It is titled, "Nigeria and We Eat 170 Million Stupid People." It begins thus: Nigeria has become 170 million stupid. It is quite hard to admit, and it is patently invidious stereotyping to label a whole nation stupid. But anything else is bleak liberal optimism. Our problems are many, serious and grave, yet we refuse to learn, change, or improve. We've elected to remain profoundly stupid. We became pew-hugging, minaret-clinging religionists who stand for nothing except invoking God at intervals to project unavailable righteousness. Why are we content at setting new stupid standards every day? Bad roads in Nigeria? What is the answer? Take it to the Lord in prayer. Comatose healthcare system? Our answer, bad diseases will not be your portion in Jesus' name. Collapsed educational system? What's our answer? What will be. Our children are overcomers. Epileptic power supply? We respond, may the good Lord bind all the principalities, demonic spirits, and the powers of darkness, preventing Nigeria from enjoying stable electricity supply. Nigerians sit on their hands, praying for celestial edicts beamed down to them from God's majestic throne. It is only, this writer concludes, it is only in a country of the stupid that people will pray to God for what humans must do for themselves. Good roads, affordable and accessible healthcare, electricity, clean water, basic education, etc. You care to know who that patriot is? It is none other than Bamidele, one of the founders of Circle of Hands. Only the sharp pens of Nigerians can paint such pictures. Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, Ken Saro-Wiwa, Joe Odumakin, Pius Adesami, and many others. But make no mistake, the criticisms of Nigeria by Nigerians is out of love. Woe unto any lizard who, on account of Nigeria's foibles, attempts to put down its people. For me, the self-criticism by Nigerians evidences the unique character of a nation whose citizens are not afraid to confront the truth if they want to. And so, based on personal interaction and sufficient accounts of many others with the same experience, Nigeria has good character. So we know the identity of Nigeria as a republic. We know its good character. Now let's reflect on Nigeria's reputation. Nigeria's good character notwithstanding, what the nation has earned by way of reputation is a different matter. For several years now, Nigeria has enjoyed the unenviable record of global notoriety. Retailed through different media, promoted by recurrent scam emails, it is regarded by many as a bundle of contradictions. While on one hand, the nation tops the chart of having the happiest people on earth, on the other hand, it has retained its top spot as one of the most corrupt places globally. The exportation of churches and missionaries continue to coincide with the importation of ammunition and terrorist trainers to perpetuate religious persecution under various political, personal, and other masks. The same country that helped with the peacekeeping in warring countries of Sierra Leone and Liberia was itself held hostage to the local men. And today, the nation features prominently on all international news channels as one of the hotbeds of global terrorism through its poster group, Boko Haram, and its poster child, the underwear bomber Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, who tried to bring down a jumbo jet on Christmas Day in 2009. Notoriety aplenty. All the cable networks on the continent devote considerable time to air performances by two of the largest Nigerian industries, Christian churches and Nollywood. While Christian churches supply an ample dose of miracles to the world, the latter, Nollywood, dishes out its large portion melange of voodoo, vice, and virtue. And the fraudsters make sure they are not outdone either. Some of the smartest brains on earth are Nigerians. Go to any major university around the world. You are going to discover Nigerian professors, physicians, engineers, and in many other professions. But from the same pot of Nigerians emerge the 419 masterminds and swindlers. And so, regardless of good character of the country and the people, Nigeria and Nigerians have earned a bad reputation, and many are the afflictions that flow from that. So having refreshed our minds about who Nigeria is, let's answer the question, where should Nigeria be? This is not a rhetorical question. The characteristics of Nigeria and Nigerians are too extraordinary for that question to be ignored. With a country that has 170 million people, with a nation that is blessed with such vast resources and a pool of young people, Nigeria should be one of the most formidable countries in the world. It is, but mainly for the wrong reasons. With such powerful resource base that the youth of Nigeria represent, Nigeria should be like China in terms of manufacturing and exports. But Nigeria is currently the largely international trust-beam of its exports. Like USA, Nigeria should be in terms of security, but Nigeria is now struggling, needing help with its own security. We should be like China, like Russia, Canada, Japan, and Israel in terms of education, but Nigeria is now sending its youth to different parts of the world for educational training, including sending Nigerians to Sudan. Nigeria should be like the UK, Germany, and the Netherlands in terms of health care, but Nigeria is engaged in a steady pilgrimage to India as its medical maker. And the list goes on and on in a dismal trend of what should be, but is not. Having looked at these, let's go to the third question. Where is Nigeria now? And where should it be going? In these two questions, I'll come to the theme you have given me, risky republic or a republic at risk. Where is Nigeria now? The situation depends on a range of factors. The factor relevant to our discussion here is the condition of the eyes of the viewer. In Nigeria, the condition of the eyes of many, especially those in the country, is impaired by factors such as ethnicity, religion, and pedigree. This is the same reality in my home country, Ghana, where the color of the sky has gradually come to depend on the political party of the person who asked the question. But all sentiments aside, Nigeria, in all its ramifications, has no business being anything but a great nation. And even God has made it possible for Nigeria to achieve that. Two views jostle for superiority in determining the true state of Nigeria right now. One is a supposition through short-sighted eyes, and the other is the reality through bifocal lens. The former, that is, the short-sighted perspective, is often the view of Nigerians. The bifocal perspective is the view by which they see Nigeria. Both views are agreed about one point, that Nigeria is a great nation. The point of divergence is in what they see, because of what they look through, short-sightedness or bifocal lenses. How do Nigerians see Nigeria? Nigerians see Nigeria as a giant of Africa in every way, in every place, every time. And this happens with many non-Nigerians as well. But while the giant of this continent cannot be denied that status, it also implies gigantic responsibility. And this is rarely talked about. The trouble strikes when you are engaged in a conversation with a Nigerian who has embraced this giant status, and he believes that you have to dwarf yourself and kowtow him who is the giant. And it works many times until you remind him of an email you just received from one of General Abacha's always in trouble wife or never-ending children. I'm talking about the scam. And then their giant status suddenly diminishes. Many Nigerians see hope in the future, but the kind of hope many see is so miraculous in nature that a better Nigeria will just fall magically on their laps, or by the waving of the hand, or by the drinking of some holy water or anointing oil. Others are also hopeful of a bright Nigeria, provided others will come to their aid, whether it is their employers, their parents, their friends, the international community, except they themselves. Government is on its own, sees hope in other ways. They consider foreign aid a glorified name for begging for alms. Just as we have individuals begging on street corners, we have our governments going around begging for partnerships, which is an euphemism for begging. Just a few months ago, in case you've been following the news, many African heads of states were dragged to the United States to meet with the government-led coalition of interested investors in Africa. Trending news on several websites, it said, America and its businesses have pledged $14 billion to help Africa. $14 billion to help 54 countries on the continent. What do you take that for? This is Africa, where news from the giant shores of this country filter to every part of the globe. 14 billion is paltry sum. I mean, first of all, 14 billion. How do you share it among 54 nations? In Nigeria, 14 billion is barely enough to fit into the pockets of 1 or 2 7 public officials. What is the future Nigerians see? Many, so frustrated, believe the solution to Nigeria's problem is a rolling-style revolution or some Arab Spring kind of revolution in Nigeria. What they mean is a violent overthrow of corrupt leaders. The only problem is very few can claim to be uncorrupt. That is the view of the future many Nigerians want about themselves, forgetting the role God has destined it to play. But what is the view of Nigeria by foreigners who have had insight into the workings of Nigeria and its greatness? If one views Nigeria in pessimistic terms, then Nigeria is a risky republic. But if one is hopeful, Nigeria is a republic at risk. Either way, the very nature of the question, Nigeria, is it a republic at risk or a risky republic, calls for serious attention to the problems we face. And for those of us who are foreigners looking at this giant called Nigeria, we believe that the question, risky nation or a nation at risk, is important to ask. Let me use a few general indicators that suggest that this question needs to be asked on this Independence Day. Let's take security. Any instability in the politics of a nation is going to affect the entire continent. A case in point is Boko Haram. By the way, Boko Haram has become the last name of a marriage between a gentleman called Nigeria and the bride called Boko Haram. Every day, the international news media beams to us what is happening in Syria, Iraq, and countries of Turkey with millions of refugees, Yemen, Jordan, Pakistan, and others. Anytime we outsiders read this news and see the television screen, we are worried. Because if this should happen in Nigeria, all of us on the West Coast are in trouble. Remember, Nigeria, you are more than 170 million people. My country, Ghana, is about 20 Thank you very much, Your Majesty. My country, Ghana, is only 25 million. If there is a crisis in Nigeria and 10% of Nigerians flee to Ghana, Ghana is finished. Already we are in trouble. Even in peacetime, come to Ghana. Most of the properties are being bought by Nigeria, and the business is everything. You are choking our educational system and literally our way of life. But we welcome you. Can you imagine what would happen if the security situation of Nigeria becomes critical? Is Nigeria at risk? Is it risky? And what does it portend for Africa? Look at the sheer population and size. Over 170 million people. Your land mass is slightly more than California. The boundaries, if you just look at the data, I have it here in my notes. With such a population and size of the nation, can you imagine the risk if there are environmental or health hazards? If there had been Ebola in Nigeria, do you understand what it would do to Cameroon, Niger, Chad, and the surrounding nations? So when we raise the question, risky nation or nation at risk, it must be taken seriously. And friends, it is not a Nigerian question, it is an African question. Because the direction of Nigeria is the direction of Africa. Ethnic and religious diversity. Over 250 ethnic groups. 50% Muslim, 40% Christian, indigenous believe some 10%. This should be a blessing, but there could also be a curse. In case you are wondering the implications, if there is ethnic or religious crisis in Nigeria, it would make Iraq, Syria, Northern Ireland, Rwanda, Palestine look like a child's play. Risky or at risk? Take the economic situation. Nigeria is not poor. It has abundance of resources. It has emerged as the largest economy on the continent of Africa. Last year's estimated 502 billion. This year's estimated GDP 522 billion. Nigeria is rich. Money talks. But what does money say? What if all these money are in the wrong hands or in just a few hands? Do you understand what that could mean? Though rich, Nigeria is corrupt. I'm not saying Nigeria is the only corrupt nation in the world, but the nation's massive scale corruption and public kleptomaniacy has attained legendary proportions. Where people faint at the news of a public figure having robbed the public purse of 4 or 5 digits, in Ghana, a minister was fired for just $5,000 boats. In Nigeria, it's like, what's wrong with you? Nigerians no longer bat an eyelid. When reports of looting 6, 7, 8 digits of public funds send the rest of us into coma, young Nigerians especially casually toss in the air. What's the big deal about that? That's really big hit. The corruption has created 2 economic worlds in Nigeria. One hand, there is opulence and extravagance by those in power, whether religious or political. Nigeria has more private jets than some countries have vehicles on their roads. On one hand, and then on the other hand, 70% of the population live below poverty line. 62% of Nigerians live in extreme poverty. Now, when we have a few who are filthily rich versus a huge majority that live in abject poverty, is that nation risky or at risk? The Bible tells us in James chapter 5 what happens when you have the rich, and super poor, revolution and a clash. Let's look at the human resource. Nigeria's greatest resources are not those in the ground, but those that walk on the land. Its people. Of these, its most untapped are its youth. About 63% of the population of Nigeria is below the age of 25 years. Most of these useful resources are not employed or underemployed. And by the way, this is not just a Nigerian problem. It is an African problem. But because Nigeria is our big brother, we have to talk about Nigeria. The youthful energies and resources haven't been developed. Why? Many of the experts to develop it and mentor the youth have either died prematurely because of age or short life expectancy, or they have chosen to freely donate their services to other nations in what is known as a brain drain. Our unemployed youth are the continent's assets that are wasting away. Left with nothing to do, many of our untapped resources are forced to become the raw materials of other people's noble causes, such as fighting as child soldiers in senseless tribal or political wars, and in some cases, as they offer themselves voluntarily as international jihadists. Those who do not go outside to fight jihadist wars serve as political vigilantes for opportunistic political parties for a bowl of rice or t-shirt. And those who cannot do this are engaged in illicit drug trafficking. You be the judge. Is Nigeria risky or at risk? What about our educational system collapse? I've been to your country and I've visited a number of universities, at least a couple of them. I keep lectures here on campuses. Nigeria has some of the worst academic environments I have visited. Poorer countries seem to place a higher premium on the oven where their future leaders are baked, but not here. The tragic deterioration of Nigeria's educational system is a cause for concern. With the following indicators, is Nigeria a nation at risk or risky? Think about this way. You have underpaid and undermotivated lecturers and staff, causing them to spend more time on industrial strikes than in the classrooms. Overcrowded hostels, lecture rooms, dilapidated infrastructure, few facilities in science lab, libraries with no new books and zero subscription to world-class journals. Not enough spaces to admit growing population of school-age youth, leading to educational pilgrimages to Europe, North America, South America, Ghana, Togo, even Sudan. Our politicians want to do something about our educational system in very creative ways. Using the monkey solutions, they simply change the gates of secondary schools and call them state universities. Businessmen also have their monkey solutions. For selfish and egocentric reasons, private universities are popping up like mushrooms. Whenever any rich man wants to diversify his portfolio or wants to be a university chancellor, never mind where they got their money for these new universities. And our religious groups who want to gain a certain level of respectability are reinvesting their enormous tithes they've stolen from church members and plunging them in new investment capital called universities. This is the means by which our religious leaders can add intellectual titles to the humble ones they currently have. So they call themselves God's servant, pastor, doctor, so and so. Man of God, most reverend professor this. The very reverend apostle doctor this. His all holiness presiding bishop doctor this. And the zillions of mushroom church leaders, not wanting to be left out, have started their own universities so they can add doctors to their concocted grand titles and ecclesiastical seal, holy seer, Holy Ghost-filled apostle, most anointed prophet, king of heaven and earth, spiritual bulldozer, prophet, reverend, pastor, founder, and then they add doctor to this. What's the result of all these? Inflated academic degrees and mass production of half-baked graduates who can barely spell their own names or write a correct sentence in any language. Is Nigeria risky or at risk? By contrast, perhaps I should throw this in. China produces about 600,000 engineers every year, and they export them. Just last week, India jumped into the space race. They beat China by sending a satellite onto Mars on their first try. China, it took them 41 tries, 23 were failed. India did it in one stretch at a very minimum cost of 74 million, compared to America in 1 year, 671 million. And what is remarkable about this is the equivalent of India's NASA has 1,654 female engineers. How can we compete? And then, of course, I can talk about the healthcare system also in Nigeria. I don't want to go into that. But the question is it risky or at risk? That leads me to my last question. Where is Nigeria going? This is the crux of the matter that I've been heading towards. Nigeria at 50. Risky republic or a republic at risk? To state it differently, where should Nigeria be going, and who is in danger when Nigeria is at risk or risky? Is it the rest of us? And by us, I'm referring to all West Africa and the entire continent. We can't afford to stop at coming up with simplistic answers to the question. About 4 years ago, my country, Ghana, celebrated, Ghana at 50-something. And then we paraded on the radar screen, champions of African excellence. Guess what? It was just a one-day wonder. You go to Ghana, that excellence is a mirage. It's just a talk. And friends, Nigeria as a giant would also be a mirage unless we do something. This giant is not just standing. When you celebrate Nigeria at 50, we asked the question. I was here in this country to give a lecture, and I asked the question, Nigeria at 50, is the nation still standing or standing still? Yes, the nation is still standing as an entity, but it is standing still. No, it is actually sitting like a big giant on a wall. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Nigeria will have a great fall, and when Nigeria falls, all the powers of the earth cannot hold it together. Nigeria is risky because this nation represents the hope of Africa, but it is not acting well. A short while ago, one church here had a building collapse. Several people died. What is remarkable is the people who died were all foreigners who had fled to Nigeria for a miracle. Emmanuel TV is beamed all over the world, and people are coming to Nigeria for help. Can you imagine what a difference it would make when Nigerians begin to excel and the whole world come to Nigeria and make a difference in their worlds? Nigeria, there is so much you can offer us, but Nigeria is at risk. It has risk because the most populous country in Africa, which can rise up, be on the Security Council, exercise its sheer force of intellect and resources, and leverage it for the advancement of Africa, Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance, is doing nothing about it. And when it attempts to do something, monkey solutions. And many are arguing for violence as a means to solve the problem. Friends, revolutions will not solve the problem. The best revolutions are the ones we wage on ourselves. It is one that calls for mind transformation. Our youth. I'll have a chart for you towards the end, so I'll skip this for now. What does Nigeria need in the next 5 or 10 minutes when I wrap up? Let me paint for you what we need as a nation. Circle of Hands has invited us to make a genuine effort to think, so that on the basis of rigorous intellectual discourse, we can provide answers to this nation, disguised under many different names and the best of intentions. If Africa does not think, other nations will think for us. It is like someone chewing food and spitting it in your mouth to swallow. That is what is happening. The Western world is chewing food, spitting it into our mouths, and we just swallow. And so last April, our leaders were marched to Brussels to meet with the European Union leaders who had a solution for Africa's problem. And Obama last August invited us again, and all our leaders went there to listen to another person give a solution to our problems. And in December, India is inviting our leaders to Bombay. China is rolling out the red carpet. The best intentions, ladies and gentlemen, unless we think, others will think for us. And the solution they are going to offer will be like the misguided monkeys who think they are bringing salvation to us when in actual fact they mean our destruction. They are here for our resources. And the time to think is now. And the people to do the thinking are us, you and I. And on this occasion of Nigeria's 54th anniversary, when we are posing the question, is a nation at risk or a risky nation? It is also a call for a new generation of thinkers, individuals who will critically evaluate and think through problems so we can come out with solutions that will help us. This is what the African Union attempted to do when it launched African Union 2063, Agenda 2063. It is a call for a new generation of Africans to embrace Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. You see, if you want, the Chinese tell us, if you want 1 year of prosperity, grow grains. If you want 10 years of prosperity, grow trees. If you want 100 years of prosperity, grow people. We must start growing people. By being here today, you have elected to enroll in this school of thinkers who can make a difference. So as I bring this to a close, perhaps I should end with a story. A story that comes to us from Baghdad. Some of you have heard the story before. It is the story of a mathematical genius called Al-Khwarizmi who lived 1200 years ago in the city of Baghdad in Iraq. Al-Khwarizmi is known as the father of algebra. In fact, the word algebra is the title of a book he wrote which we couldn't pronounce in English because it is in Arabic. One day, Al-Khwarizmi, and by the way, he is the founder of what computer science is, the science of zero, without which computers cannot work. One day, Al-Khwarizmi was riding a camel from Baghdad to Mecca. He was carrying some algebraic manuscripts to the holy city of Mecca when, right about the middle of his journey in an oasis, he found, in the desert area, he found 3 young men who were crying. He stopped his camel and went to them and he said, "My children, why are you crying?" And they said, "Our father, upon his death, instructed us to divide his 17 camels to ourselves." You know, camels are like articulator cars, trucks. The father left behind 17. And he said his 3 children should share the 17 camels. And they said, Al-Khwarizmi said, "So why can't you share them?" He said, "Our father left behind a will. And in that will, our father instructed, to my oldest son, I leave half of my camels. My second son shall have 1/3 of the camels. And my youngest son is to have 1/9 of the camels." So Al-Khwarizmi asked, "So what's your problem?" Well, the oldest son said, "Since my share is half of the camels, if I divide 17 camels by 2, I will get 8.5 camels. The second son said, "Since my share is 1/3, if I divide 17 by 3, my share would be 5 2/3 of a camel." And the youngest, who was to get 1/9, said, "If I divide 17 by 9, I'll get 1/89 of a camel." And all of them said to Khwarizmi, "We love our camels. We don't want any of them to die. And so we don't know what to do." Al-Khwarizmi thought for a while and said, "Will it help if I offer you my camel and add it to your 17, so it becomes 18 camels, and then you share them. No, 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 they all cried. You are on your way to Mecca, which is a long way away. Al-Khwarizmi said, no, don't worry. Go ahead, take my camel, add it to yours, and share the camels. And so they added it. We now have 18 camels. The firstborn is to get half. 18 divided by 2 is what? 9. Notice, he got more than he would have gotten with 8.5. The secondborn, who was to get 1/3. 1/3 of 18 is what? 6. He also got more than he would have gotten with his 5 2/3. The lastborn, who was to get 1/9. 18 divided by 9, how many camels? 2. He also got more camels. After they finished sharing it, to their shock, they found one camel still standing. Because when you add 9 plus 6, 15, plus 2 is 17. The camel that was left was Al-Khwarizmi's camel, and he asked for his camel and left. What is the message? There was a solution to the problem, but they were not willing to think outside the box. Ladies and gentlemen, the problem of Nigeria calls for a people who will think outside the box. Africa must think, and that is the thrust of the book, Africa Must Think. We need a generation of thinkers who will think outside the box and find solutions to our problems. We need Africans who are willing to give their one camel for the common good of all. Because Al-Khwarizmi was willing to let go his one camel, everyone got a share of their inheritance, and he never lost anything. What we need are men and women, Nigerians, Africans, who are willing to not hold on to their camels of ethnicity, their camels of religion, their camels of political parties. In the interest of the common good of our republic, we need people who are willing to sacrifice, who will do the right thing because it's right and not expect anything in return. The more I think about Al-Khwarizmi's spirit, the more, if you are a Christian, you will think of Christ. He let go his camel. The Bible says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. Though he was God, he emptied himself. He became nothing. He laid down his life so that all of us would have eternal life. This is what Nigeria needs. A new way of thinking, selflessness, sacrificial thinking. And ladies and gentlemen, if we have this mindset, Nigeria will change. One person with that renewed mindset, a transformed mind, a thinking outside the box mind, can make a difference. And if we have a group of people, like-minded people, we will have a nucleus of a chain reaction that can effect the change that great leaders have brought. Nelson Mandela had that mindset of sacrificial spirit. Gandhi had that spirit. Jesus Christ had that spirit. Those who make a difference in the world are those with this mindset. And so, I'll conclude with a poem about how one person can make a difference. It is a poem that was written in 1926 by James Allen Francis. It is entitled, One Solitary Life. Sometimes you think I'm all by myself. I can't do, I'm just one person. One person cannot make a difference. No, one person can make a difference. Here, listen to the poem. He was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another obscure village where he worked in a carpenter's shop until he was 30. Then, for 3 years, he was an itinerant preacher. He never owned a home. He never wrote a book. He never held an office. He never had a family. He never went to college. He never visited a big city. He never traveled more than 200 years from the place he was born. He never did one of the things that accompany greatness. He had no credentials but himself. He was only 33 when the tide of public opinion turned against him. One of his friends betrayed him. Others deserted him. One of them denied him. He was turned over to his enemies. He went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed upon a cross between two thieves. And while dying, the executioners gambled for his clothing, the only property he had on earth. And when he was dead, he was laid in a borrowed grave through the pity of a friend. But 3 days later, he rose from the dead. Those are the facts of his human life. 20 centuries have come and gone. Today, he is the centerpiece of human race, the leader of mankind's progress. All armies that have ever marched, all the navies that have ever sailed, all the parliaments that have ever sat, and all the kings that have ever reigned, put together, have not affected the life of mankind on this earth as powerfully as that one solitary life. Ladies and gentlemen, I want this to ring in your ears. Your nation, Nigeria, needs you. Not only to be part of a solution to the risks it faces and poses in the present, but also to rebuild a better foundation for future generations yet unborn. You are that one solitary person that can make the change. Sign up with like minds and be the change that you have wanted to see. Thank you very much.